To get started, we're going to use these 3 tools. This to score it, so that way our paint doesn't peel up. And this to peel off the floorboard, so that way Zeb can get started on sanding them with the ginormous orbital sander we've rented. Zeb is scoring it because I have proven...
I'm better with the sharp tools.
I have proven that I'm not good with a razor blade in the past.
So what I'm doing is, if you don't score this, when you pull this off, it's going to want to peel like chunks of your paint up.
Well, especially since we just painted these walls.
Yeah, since the paint's real fresh, we want to make sure we don't get that going on. So I'm just taking the razor knife and just cutting right here along the edge.
Okay, so we are numbering these, so we know where they went back, and we're gonna have to pull all these nails out. Are you gonna pull these nails out, or are you gonna just zip them off?
No, I'll pull them out from the back end. That way they pull through.
I'm just using my crowbar to kind of pry this over.
So because the carpet comes right up to the wood floor, I'm gonna pull it up just right here, and I just pull this way with it and then lift, and it gets it off of that nail strip. Look at all that fun stuff from the years of kids putting it there. We need
awesomeness.
Yeah. So, and then it just goes right back in the same way. You pull this way and then push down, but I'll show you. That way we can sand and stain without having to worry to getting it on the carpet. Okay, so this is the orbital sander that we rented from Home Depot. It took a $150 deposit, and then it's $61 for a full 24 hours of rental, and they give us the rest of the deposit back as long as everything's good. So they also sold these over in the rental area, these discs, these sanding discs, and this is 36 grit that we're putting on here. Looks like it'll hold pretty good. All right, we're gonna turn that on and see how it goes. If it starts throwing dust everywhere, it's got a dust collection system that's built in, but if it starts throwing dust everywhere, we're gonna go ahead and add a vacuum hose to it. The vacuum was putting a little bit of dust out right where the vacuum was going while I was using it, so I put my respirator on while I was doing most of this work since I had so much floor to do. So I've been doing some hand sanding. I'm done with the big sander. I ran through the grits on that. I used 36 grit on the big orbital sander that we rented. That's where I started out at, and it removed the material and the old finish pretty well, but it also left a few swirls in the floor. So I then used 80 and then 100 grit on that, but there's still some low spots where the sander cut down into the wood. Probably operator error, my fault on that. So I'm going back in with the hand sander here in the vacuum and just sanding those out and getting the swirls out so that it's real nice and smooth. Sorry for the poor quality on this clip. I had to pull this clip from our YouTube live video that we did. If you want to see that full video, it's in the playlist of our kitchen makeover playlist, and I'll be sure to link that for you up here in the cards. But I'm using a lamb's wool applicator, and we're using a water-based milk stain that we will have on our website shortly, and Jami talks about that at length in the other video. But I just wanted to show you this short clip of how it goes on. It went on real smooth, it didn't stink, there's no VOC. We ended up only having to do one coat with the stain to get this color that we achieved. When you apply this sealer, I'm using the same applicator that I used for the stain. I usually just push it one way, and then you want to bring it back. You want to kind of drag it back. So we have 2 coats on here, and it sat overnight, and it had a couple little rough areas, probably from the wood grain raising up here and there. So we're just buffing that off, and then we're going to put 2 more coats of the sealer on.
And we're using 400 grit sandpaper.
Yep, 400 grit with the foam pad underneath it. Alright, I'm doing the finishing touches on the floor. The carpet's still loose. All I'm doing is pulling it as tight as I can, and then pushing it back down into that nail strip. And then right here on the edge, where it's kind of poking up, I just take this putty knife and I'm just working it down in right along the edge. And then once it's all done, I give it a little tamp and walk on it a little bit, and it's been holding pretty tight. I don't know if this is the approved method to do it, because I'm not a carpet guy, but it's working and it's holding the carpet in there nice and tight. I've got all the nails out and I've sanded out some imperfections and things and cleaned them up a little bit. And I'm just using my Paint Pixie brush that we sell on our website, JamiRayVintage.com, and I'm just gonna brush these and get down in the details. And I'll have to touch them up a little bit with some caulking and maybe a little bit of touch-up paint from when I staple them to the wall. But for the most part, this is gonna cover them and give them a nice clean look. I'm also just using the same latex we used on the walls so it'll match. Okay, so I've got my pieces of trim all set up here and puzzled out. That long one I'm actually gonna have to put in first because this piece here was trimmed out to go over the top. So once I do that long piece, I'll put this over the top. Then these pieces here are just gonna go right there and I'll staple those on. So this is number 1 and number 2 that I've got marked out, just lining them up. And I'm using 18 gauge 1 5/8" nails in here. Alright, a little bit of caulk and that'll look just good as new. I'm just taking this DAP patch and paint, lightweight spackling, going right over the holes that the staple gun left, and then I'll come back through and sand them flat with some 200 and then just repaint that spot where I sanded. And then after that, I'll do the caulking all along the top here. All the baseboards are on and I am getting ready to caulk this. I'm just using this DAP Dynaflex 230. It's really white and it also comes in the canister for the caulking gun, but I like to just use this right here. I'm just going to squeeze a bead out right along there. Oh, not enough there. I've got a big gap where the wall's not quite straight right here, so I got to fill that up. I've just got a piece of foam. This was an old mattress, and I'm just going to come back clean that line up, and then if we need to, we can come back over and paint it a little bit, but it matches pretty well. And this is wet, it's just lightly damp. Not so wet that if I squeeze it I get a bunch of water out of it, but it's just got a little bit of moisture on it and helps smooth that out. And that's all the harder it is. Probably the hardest part of this whole makeover that we've been doing has been the floors.
Let's get real. Sanding the floors sucked. Staining the floors was probably the easiest part.
That was really easy.
Sealing the floors was probably moderately easy, but sanding the floors was hard. I think it would have been easier if we would have rented the big heavy duty sander and the orbital, but we didn't want to spend the money.
So we got the orbital sander because I thought it would get in the small spaces better, because they had a big belt sander that just has one single belt that was quite a bit wider than the one that I have here at the house, and you just drag with the grain of the wood. But the guy told me there you can put divots in the floor really quick and easy, and we've got this island that's not straight on the floor, and it was going to be a thing, so I tried that.
We should have taken our chances.
Yeah, it might have worked better, but you know, it's done, and we had to do a lot of hand sanding with our own orbital to get some squiggles out, but...
There was some nerve damage in your knee.
Shh, no, it's fine. It's good. I just broke it when I was 8 and now it's coming back because I'm not 25 anymore.
Anyways, the floors are absolutely beautiful. The best part about them is that they are able to be clean, because before I felt like I could never get them clean and they were just grody looking. They had been 12 years.
Yeah, they had like big gaps in like the wood grain and things because it needed to be sanded down where the finish had gone away and we couldn't never get the dirt up out of the grain.
I do have to say, so we used water-based stain and we used a water-based sealer. We've heard the water-based sealer isn't as tough, so we went ahead and did 4 coats of it. But I feel like it feels tough. We'll see how it holds up over time. But if you're gonna live in the house while you're renovating it, I don't see how in the world you'd be able to tolerate the smell of a stain plus the oil-based stain, and then you have to wait 24 hours. If you use an oil-based stain, you have to wait 24 hours after you put the stain on to seal it. And heaven forbid you get that stain on anything. Oil is like really hard to clean. It would have been a mess if it got on the carpets, on our cabinets. He didn't even wear gloves with the water-based stain.
So we're not saying that you shouldn't wear gloves with the stain, but it washed right off my hands. I didn't have to wear the gloves, and now that it's sealed,
and it's winter time, so it's not like we can open windows or anything. We would get all asphyxiated. We do not carry the water-based stain currently, but it should be by the end of January of 2018. We should have it at JamiRayVintage.com. So be sure to check back with us.
We'll
or if you're watching this after January of 2018, then go to JamiRayVintage.com to pick up that water-based stain. It's not just good for floors. You can use it for any project. You do have to sand all the way down to the natural wood to get it to adhere, but it gives a very soft, natural look. Sometimes I feel like oil-based stains are not very naturally. It just looks. They
tend to go dark, or they're too light, one way or the other,
or they're too orange or too red or whatever. And this is just a really natural-looking stain. So I really like that.
And we only did 1 coat. Only 1 coat of stain to get this color.
Yeah, I think 2 coats would have deepened it a little bit, but we were tired.
Well, and I like the lighter color. Like lighter woods are coming back.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the darker woods are kind of going out. I feel like the gray woods are still popular, but they're kind of trendy. So this is, I feel like, a color that will be a good color for a long time.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY. Mentioned that I was going to start leaving bloopers in on the end card, and I had been sanding for quite a while and forgot that the camera was still filming. My favorite song came on Pandora. I had some earbuds in, and this is what happened.